Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and I am standing beneath one of my most favorite trees on the corner of my house in my front yard. This is a Prairiefire crab, and I love her. She's almost fully open. She's absolutely gorgeous, and she's very fragrant. The bees love her, but she has a few problems, and I want to show you how to tackle those issues so they don't become bigger issues later. So common problems for fruiting trees and nut trees are water sprouts and suckers, and this tree definitely has it. I didn't get to it last year, so they're even stronger. So you can see all this growth. Here's one of them down here, and it's out into the landscape, out into one of my beds actually. But I want to show you how to tackle them, and I want to show you how to identify them. They're not uncommon, and the reason why you want to get rid of them is because the suckers and the water sprouts suck energy out of the from the tree, so to keep themselves going. So we don't want that to happen, and the more suckers and water sprouts you have, the weaker your tree can become. So by removing them and removing them the right way, we can kind of manage the problem a lot easier so that it doesn't become a bigger problem. So let me show you what they look like first, and then we'll jump into it. Okay, so you can see this is the bed. This is geranium macrorrhizum down here, and there's some blue hosta, but the geranium macrorrhizum is kind of swallowing up the hostas. There's a few in here. There's a hosta, but they're scattered around. But what I want to show you is the suckers that are coming up. So here's my border, and here's a sucker coming up, and that is the base of the tree. And the reason why this sucker is coming up here is because suckers originate from the roots of the tree. So if I were just to go down and cut this sucker off right at the base here, I'm not fixing the problem. All I'm doing is encouraging it to grow even stronger next time. What we're gonna have to do is dig down, find the root that this is originating from, and cut it off directly from the root. So same thing with all of these guys over here as well. You see all these suckers coming up? Some are closer to the tree trunk. These are all suckers. Here's a tall one here, but look at that. And then a water sprout looks like this. Water sprouts grow straight up through the tree. So, oh, I almost fell here. Let me get a better footing here. So water sprouts grow straight up. So you see how this is coming right off a branch here, and it's going straight up the tree. So we're gonna cut that off too. I'm gonna show you how to cut that off the right way as well. And I see another one. Can you see this one here growing straight up through the tree? That's another water sprout. We're gonna get rid of all those guys. There aren't too many of them, but we're gonna take care of the problem. So when you're pruning anything, you want to make sure you're starting out with clean tools. So for this job, for the sprouts at least, as I'm getting started, I'll just be using my Felco pruners. And I like to use rubbing alcohol, but you could also use bleach wipes to clean them off. You just want to make sure that you're being cautious about not spreading, like if this is diseased in any way, I don't want to transmit anything from this tree to my other trees and cause a problem across my entire garden. So by keeping them clean, I eliminate that issue. So I'm going to tackle the water sprouts first, and those are the ones that I mentioned are growing straight up through your fruit or nut tree. And this problem, or the water sprouts and the suckers, are common in pear trees. I had a pear years ago, and it had water sprouts like crazy. It had suckers, so it's not uncommon. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your plant. It's just what your tree or shrub does. So when you're removing the water sprouts, there's a branch collar on the tree. I'm going to bring you a little closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's our water sprout, and I do not want to make my cut here because then I'm cutting right into the main trunk here of the main branch, and this will never heal if I cut here. But there's a ring here, and that is your branch collar. I want to make sure I'm cutting above that so that I'm not cutting into the trunk of the tree, and it has a really good chance of healing over. It'll heal just fine. If I cut too deep, then I create problems for the tree. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to cut above the branch collar, kind of like right about here, and I will do that with all of my water sprouts. So we're going to get after this water sprout. We're going to cut above the branch collar and move on to the next one. And I'll probably put this in a vase, and the flowers smell beautiful. Look at those pretty flowers. This is Prairiefire crab. She's pretty. And this will be full, as soon as this is open even more, it will be full of honeybees. They just love this tree. So, all right, I'll move on to the next ones. I'm going to give you a close-up of what the cut actually looks like so you can see how I'm not cutting into the trunk of the tree. So here's a little kind of a side view here. So you see how here's the branch collar, I cut above it. So I've got this little nub here. That is totally fine. What I want to avoid is cutting into here because that kind of wound will never heal. So I cut above it, and this will heal over, and the plant should be just fine. Now the suckers are a little more challenging because you've got to dig down and get to the root of them, literally get to the root that the sucker is growing off of. So for that, I'm gonna glove up, and before we do any type of pruning, we definitely don't want to cut this down from the surface of the soil. We want to get down in the soil first. So I'm going to dig out and find the root that it's originating from and cut it directly off of there. If I can just get my gloves on. Well, that was easy. I got it. So bring you a little closer. So here's a close-up view, and this is the root underground that the sucker is originating from, and I'm going to cut it directly off of that. Just like that. Well, that'll do it. Look at all of these. I've got a few more branches over to the side there, but those are mostly suckers and a few water sprouts. But I got them all removed, and I think the tree looks so much better. I love multi-stem trees. They're so elegant. That vase shape is so beautiful. But when they've got suckers growing up through the center of them, it really detracts from the look of the tree. And this tree is almost at peak, and I wanted to make sure it looked its best right now because it is my favorite. So the water sprouts and the suckers are out. And also, if there's a root deep down that's got a sucker coming from it and you can't get to it, cut it as deep, as far down as you possibly can. Don't sweat it. It's going to be fine. Just make sure that your pruners are clean when you do the job, and you'll most likely have more suckers next year, but as long as you stay on top of it, the tree won't get ugly looking or be weakened by the water sprouts and the suckers. So I hope this helps you guys, and if you like this video, please subscribe, or please give it a like, thumbs up, and even better, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys, have a good day.